one of the best things that happened to me was not having to do video portfolios to get accepted into college.
Boyd Calico Community School in Naples. I got a bunch of hobbies and these are my staples.
For our parents' generation, it was study hard. For millennials, it was study hard, have a high GPA, SAT, have 10 extracurriculars, and open a charity in Zimbabwe, and you'll get in. For the new generation, it is just a totally different animal.
Hi, I'm Kyra, a senior at Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology, and for the past 3 years of my life, this school has shaped me into who I am. Its seemingly limitless options, ranging from oceanography to computer systems to quantum physics, have given me a chance to explore.
Your high school had oceanography and quantum physics?
I walked in as a 14-year-old with an avid interest in brains, expecting to see myself studying EEGs in the neuroscience lab as a senior. Now, as a 17-year-old in the biotech research lab, I wonder just how exactly rice blast fungus grows on the Jefferson Memorial, because doesn't it only affect rice? But school isn't the only place where I've been open to exploration. I've sampled lots of sports, from figure skating to swimming, finally settling on rhythmic gymnastics and tennis.
Now, I sampled a lot of sports as well, but the outcome was to become semi-mediocre in many of them, and never in my life did I have a split like that from sampling a sport. But I know what she's trying to say is this is my real sport, but don't worry, I do 10 other activities that make me a well-rounded person, and I don't sleep, I swear.
Hi, I'm Autumn from wealthiest High School, and if I had to describe myself using one word, it would be maximalism.
If I had to describe myself in one word, it would be disorientation. Also, this girl has all of these artsy things like Romeo and Juliet, some guitar, some French art, and then she also has the periodic table of elements and like a NASA sticker smack in the middle just to cover all of her bases.
Now let me be clear, when I say maximalism, I'm not talking about excess consumer culture or a closet before it gets Marie Kondo'd.
Of course not. Do you think you can get into brown without being absolutely woke and on the reverse racism side of the scale?
I'm citing a lifestyle that values variance, volume, and busyness in a curated manner.
When I say disorientation, I'm talking about a lifestyle that values questioning your life choices, feeling inferior when scrolling on LinkedIn, but most of all, wondering if the grass is truly greener elsewhere or if everyone is more unhappy than they appear to be.
So let's start with busyness. Between the Milwaukee Youth Symphony Orchestra, the Tosa East Players, the Luciola String Quartet, forensics, and not even to mention school, I rarely find myself with free time.
I used to do this actually. I used to write by putting these obnoxious clauses in the middle of a sentence, and by the time you get to the end, you totally forgot the list. You have no idea what was in the list in the first place because you didn't have a verb to associate it with. But it honestly doesn't matter. Like, let me tell you the feeling that you get from just hearing that sentence once and trying to wrap your brain around it. It's that, one, she is very high achieving, and two, she is so well-rounded that at all times she has one eyeball looking at French art and the other eyeball reading the periodic table of elements for like the millionth time, while all the same time strumming her violin and performing improv in a symphony / improv theater setting.
And honestly, that's how I like it. My favorite days are the ones jam-packed with social, intellectual, and creative outlets.
And the other aspect of a lot of these videos is this emphasis on constant stimulation. I am constantly stimulated. I do not sleep. If I don't have something poking at my brain at all times, I will go mad. It's honestly really unhealthy because that's the pressure, and it's not this person. I mean, this person is working so hard. It's just that this is the kind of attitude that once you graduate and go into the workforce, that ends up being the same kind of sleepless nights, working at all times, never taking a break, glorification that has happened over the past couple of years that we've seen too many videos about.
Entrepreneur, a public speaker, and on weekends, a competitive sleeper.
I mean, come on, if you sleep on the weekends, do you really think you can compete with variance, volume, and busyness?
And honestly, that's how I like it.
And then like this whole category of white males who rap as a form of self-expression, brown categorically rejected at least these two people.
News of raps. The ones with tortillas.
Brown is obviously like, no, you're not the next Eminem, and you also need like 5 other hobbies to qualify as well-rounded.
They say you are what you eat, and well, I guess then I'm a lot of things.
What am I? I am expensive food.
This is a typical morning, but I'm not a typical person.
Yeah, a typical person does not drive an Audi to high school after getting up at 5 a.m. and doing push-ups.
The Rubik's Cube, which I once feared, now fascinates me, in part because of its analytical nature and customizability, but mostly because speed cubing is a race against myself.
This man is also a North Continental ping pong champion after only practicing for 1 year, and a speed cuber and a magician. I guess this video is about how hard it is for me to relate to a lot of these videos because I went to a high school with a lot fewer resources and I was academically achieving, but I did extracurriculars not for the right reasons, but more because I didn't want to be at home. I felt like home was a very toxic, stressful environment, and I felt like I was very much unfinished and inexperienced, and I was not this curated image that these students are able to depict of themselves. I think the most classist part of this whole divide between wealth when it comes to these kind of videos is the fact that a lot of low-income households, they don't even know to look out for these kinds of opportunities, that you should be doing all these hobbies and volunteering your time, and even having someone to drive you to these activities just isn't there for a lot of low-income kids to then showcase their experiences in this way.
And yes, as you can see, I love
Is that a Mac?
taking random videos of my everyday life.
Everyday life, she's like literally somewhere with like a massive chandelier. It's really like a funnel that's been created, and a lot of these programs that are supposed to help low income or minority families, they're trying to get students to fit into this funnel by encouraging them to do better in SATs and get better grades and have all these kinds of extracurriculars that will further their application as a reaction to those statistics that say, you know, the more times you take the SAT, the better you are. So it's kind of a solution that's not really a solution to this kind of problem. On that note, true story, my high school decided in my senior year to start a debate club, and I joined because why not? And we went to our first debate competition, and we were so bad that we were like laughing it off on the bus ride home. We were like, oh my gosh, this was baptism by fire. We'll do better next year. But the truth of the matter is because a lot of schools that go to these debate tournaments, they have very experienced teachers who've done it for many years. These speech champions have been groomed and assisted, and they know the technique, the rules. We just crafted our arguments and tried to fight it out. And if that's not a metaphor for this whole classism that appears in these videos, I don't know what is a better one. Comment what is a better one in the comments. I'd love to hear from your experiences, like what parallel you can draw as well.
When I get stuck, I go back to the things that got me into screenwriting 3 years ago. I'll reread my favorite screenwriting books.
Like, of course, if immigrant students are gonna go to the Ivies, they're gonna feel inferior, that inferiority complex, because these other kids are just so much more well prepared. I mean, look at this guy. He has a networking book on his bookshelf, and he's like a screenwriter. And like, I didn't even know the word networking, what that meant, until I got to college and just drifted into an investment banking seminar for the free lunch and snacks. I'm not saying that the students in these videos haven't worked hard and faced so many challenges. I am just saying that when I was growing up, I only did activities that I could walk to because I knew I couldn't rely on my single mom to drive me to there because she was at work until very late at night. And what I've learned as well, which is the human experience, is that if you watch a lot of these videos, you just see that these kids have very different thoughts, fears, and experiences than a lot of other people because they're growing up in highly competitive environments to their benefit and to their emotional detriment as well. Have I ever feared a Rubik's Cube of undermining my value? Do I care about the fungus on the Jefferson Memorial or about stress in whatever microscopic creature? I really have never had these thoughts, like ever. I didn't know people had these kinds of thoughts. But what I do think everyone shares is an immense pressure to make these kind of high quality video portfolios so that admissions counselors can clearly see who to reject on the basis of who's better socially groomed to succeed in the school that has been set up in a certain way. To the benefit of the low-income community, there are a lot of videos online that are now kind of teaching people how to hack the system, how to be a better networker, how to create better video portfolios. But the truth of the matter is that really a solution to the problem? that is created by having these things in the first place? No, I mean, it's also more ruthless than ever.
You know, with all this free time, I've been able to learn some pretty cool stuff, like the piano.
And if anyone from Brown is watching this, I just want to say thank you for taking a chance on me, for accepting me, for not thinking about video portfolios until after I applied and graduated, and for the continuing funding of financial aid. As you can see by the representation in these kinds of videos, it is very much needed and appreciated. And on a final unstructured note, it's just that these things are ridiculous. Watching these kids' experiences, it is a life that a lot of people dream of. And of course, your childhood is something you'll never get back. In a way, a lot of these high-achieving students have their childhood taken away earlier, and at the same time, they're gifted with a lot of good things that will help them set them up better in the future. So life, as always, is a balance, and thank you for tuning in to this video. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed this kind of content. Also, Happy New Year! I thought it was very fitting to film this new year in the shirt that I wore when I made my first video. We are still traveling, which means I am still rotating the same amount of outfits that I have when I packed, if anything less, because we dropped off a couple of suitcases at our friends. So, but the outfit doesn't matter, it's the words, it's the content. Also, like, how many of you even watched my first video? I don't know, so engagement is a very funny thing. Anyway, thank you for subscribing, and kisses from Sonoma Valley. That's where we are. Sonoma, Santa Rosa, Napa Valley. And if you want, you can wish me happy birthday.